All right, a couple of Supreme Court rulings Friday being declared victories by Republicans, while Democrats wholly condemn the rulings, and they deal with presidential powers. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop, and a lot to tackle here with this issue. It's something that popped on the last day. The Supreme Court had to give their final arguments and their positions on a slew of cases. They've already released a bunch of different rulings, including that ruling about the firearms manufacturers being sued by the Mexican government. But they had a whole host of other rulings that they still had to release. And on the final day of the U.S. Supreme Court's session, they released several. One of them, as you see at thecentersquare.com, you can pull this up and find it where you can get the newsletter, thecentersquare.com. Illinois political leaders react to Supreme Court limiting court rulings. And it's got the usual suspects involved, right? We'll go through some of this, but let's hear what Pam Bondi had to say Friday on the White House press podium, talking about this ruling and how significant it really was.
Finally getting what they voted for. No longer will we have rogue judges striking down President Trump's policies across the entire nation. No longer. Today, in the 6-3 opinion, Justice Barrett correctly holds that the district court lacks authority to enter nationwide or universal injunctions. These lawless injunctions gave relief to everyone in the world instead of the parties before the court. As the Supreme Court held today, they turned district courts into the imperial judiciary. Active liberal judges have used these injunctions to block virtually all of President Trump's policies. To put this in perspective, there are 94 federal judicial districts. 5 of those districts throughout this country held 35 of the nationwide injunctions. Think about that. 94 districts and 35 out of the 40 opinions with nationwide injunctions came from 5 liberal districts in this country. No longer. No longer. These injunctions have blocked our policies from tariffs to military readiness to immigration to foreign affairs, fraud, abuse, and many other issues. The judges have tried to seize.
So again, it's Bondi talking about how there was what the prevailing opinion from the U.S. Supreme Court indicated was an imperial judiciary, which that's not necessarily how the Supreme Court views the district judges to be able to have that kind of power. You've got President Trump talking about how he says the Constitution has been restored. Here's the president answering some questions.
This is more and more concentration of power in the White House and the executive.
Well, this really brings back the Constitution. This is what it's all about, and this is really the opposite of that. I mean, the question is fine, but it's the opposite. The Constitution has been brought back.
So the president saying that this was a victory for the Constitution and the separation of powers even. But again, you've got the reaction, at least from Illinois political leaders. We'll go through some of this. Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul, he said that even though today's decision wasn't, birthright citizenship was at the focal point of this. And the issue of this ruling on the birthright citizenship issue, where somebody who's not a citizen to this country can come to this country, have a child while in this country as a non-citizen, and that child, through birthright, is a citizen of the country. The Trump administration had an executive order that said that that's a misinterpretation of it. It's supposed to be, post-Civil War reconstruction, for, as the president said, the children of slaves to be considered part of this country as citizens. So he's arguing in court, and part of the issue was the injunction that was put on this particular case and other cases where you had a district federal judge give a nationwide injunction blocking the president from being able to move forward. So this issue Friday was just about the nationwide injunctions. And is that something a district court can do? The U.S. Supreme Court seeming to ratchet that down and to regulate that and to restrict what district courts can do on a nationwide basis. But back to Kwame Raoul, he joined in this lawsuit, and he says even though after today's decision, birthright citizenship, a rule that governed our country since the end of the Civil War, remains the law in Illinois. He says President Trump's attempt to strip American babies of citizenship is a flagrantly unconstitutional move that disregards the 14th Amendment and the principle of separations of powers upon which our government was founded. Raul says that he is a person of birthright citizenship, and it's very personal to him. He says, as our case continues, I will continue to fight alongside our coalition of challengers to President Trump's executive order, and am confident that under the guidance provided today by the U.S. Supreme Court, our arguments for complete relief will prevail. So the case about the birthright citizenship issue is not over. This was just about the executive action. So we could see when the Supreme Court comes back in October, they could take up this birthright citizenship question. Back to more reaction from the court's opinion on Friday. U.S. Senator Dick Durbin said by issuing the ruling, the U.S. Supreme Court, not the Illinois Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court is stating that courts cannot block even the most lawless actions of the Trump administration on a nationwide basis. The Supreme Court is playing procedural games with the most fundamental rights, explicitly protecting our Constitution, the right of citizenship. Governor J.B. Pritzker chiming in as well. He just announced his campaign for a third term of governor. A lot of people speculating he's queuing up to be running in the 2028 presidential election. But he said that it's a dangerous sign that Donald Trump is further consolidating power and putting his own interests above the needs of the American people. As Trump and his allies continue to attack the rule of law and undermine the foundations of the United States Constitution, Illinois will stay true to who we are. We are the land of Lincoln, and we will forcefully defend the freedoms and rights of our people. Now, Republicans praising the ruling. Mike Bost, U.S. Congressman from Murfreesboro, posted on social media that the ruling is a clear rebuke of activist judges and yet another major victory for President Trump. A single district court judge should not be able to issue injunctions that derail a president's national agenda, Bost wrote. This is an issue that has frustrated presidents of both parties for decades. The court acted rightly to provide a sense of clarity the system has lacked for too long. Congresswoman Mary Miller, a Republican from Oakland, she said that the ruling is a major victory for the rule of law and our nation's sovereignty. She said 77 million Americans voted for President Trump's America First agenda in birthright citizenship. So that's the reaction from Illinois politicians to the ruling on Friday from the U.S. Supreme Court limiting the power that district judges have in enforcing nationwide injunctions. But that wasn't the only ruling. There was a ruling dealing with school curriculum and parents' choice and parents' rights, and a ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court, the case Muhammad v. Taylor. It says that the courts recognized parents have a constitutional right to opt their children out for religious reasons, content such as storybooks that push the LGBTQ ideology. It was a 6-3 ruling, and you have a lot of reaction here as well. But let's hear a little bit of what the Deputy U.S. Attorney General Blanche says about this particular ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court on the issue of curriculum in public schools and whether parents can opt out of such things.
The injunctions case, we would be here talking about another great decision that came down today, the trans books case, which restores parents' rights to decide their child's education. Seems like a basic idea, but it took the Supreme Court to set the record straight, and we thank them for that. And now that ruling allows parents to opt out of dangerous trans ideology and make the decisions for their children that they believe is correct. And so we thank the Supreme Court for that. There's been multiple decisions over the past several weeks that just show why this nationwide injunction ban had to happen. For example, what I mean by that is local district court judges issuing decisions that are clearly contrary to law just because they don't like the policy of President Trump. And when it gets to the Supreme Court has to correct it. But that takes time. The Attorney General thanked our lawyers, and I'll do it again. Our lawyers are working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to fight these injunctions and to emergency appeals, emergency stays, going back to the district court judge, asking them to change their view. And so their hard work is really paying off today, but over the past few weeks. We had a stay of an order that prevented DHS from moving aliens to a third country. We had a stay of an order that stopped the Department of Defense from implementing military readiness, the EO that President Trump signed. We had another stay of an order forcing reinstatement of fired executive branch employees, entirely within the president in Article 2, his right to do.
You've got the victories in the U.S. Supreme Court stacking up, but a lot of these issues are still not finalized. It's very similar to those who've been tracking the gun ban case, right? I mean, 2023, the gun ban was initiated and put into law in January. Weeks later, lawsuits, preliminary actions, injunctions on the district level, going up to the appeals court, being reversed, going up to the U.S. Supreme Court on preliminary grounds, bouncing all the way back to the district court, where it took, all of 2024 to have that case hashed out and decided on final judgment. So we're still waiting on the outcome in the appeals court for that case. So again, you can see how these preliminary issues can kind of slow things down and make the issue come back to the district court and then have to deal with whatever the U.S. Supreme Court precedent is, and we'll be watching that very closely. But again, just getting some of the reaction from the Illinois officials on two particular U.S. Supreme Court cases to the LGBTQ curriculum issue. You've got the likely suspects here talking and posting on social media their thoughts. Mary Miller, as we saw in the previous story, she said that for years parents have sounded an alarm over obscene and inappropriate content invading our schools, and today they were heard. She said the Supreme Court delivered a historic win for families, affirming parental rights, safeguarding religious freedom, and pushing back against the left's radical gender ideology targeting our children. Senator Dick Durbin, he posted as well about this. He said that the LGBTQ stories matter. Kids deserve to see themselves in the books they read. Tragically, the same zealots who try to ban books from libraries are now trying to limit what kids can read, learn, and hear from teachers in their classroom. We must put love and acceptance over hate and division as Pride Month comes to a close. It's clear we still have a fight ahead of us. So that's, again, just some of the reaction from the U.S. Supreme Court's decisions on Friday. And what Illinois elected officials have to say about these things. All right, it is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Wake up with us each and every weekday morning and get the latest in your inbox. Go to thecentersquare.com and sign up for that newsletter. It's free, and you can also donate at thecentersquare.com to keep us going each and every day, bringing you the latest headlines, not just from Illinois, but from across the country at thecentersquare.com.